welcome to Autocar Professional Monthly Trend Podcast. And now we are talking about February and what a month it has been. A bumper month for every segment of automobiles. And to talk more about these trends, I have with me auto industry expert Mr. Arun Malhotra. Thank you so much, Arun sir, for joining us like every month you do. What an amazing month. Exceptional performance from every segment. I have some headline figures. Three-wheelers were up 35.3%, passenger vehicles 25.3%, two-wheelers 25%, tractors 36.5%. So amazing month. But let's focus on PVs first.
So, and one thing I add, even commercial vehicles has been 30%.
Yes, commercial
So
vehicles
you can
too.
all the elements of the spectrum, we can say.
It was
It's been their record.
Valentine's month for
I don't know whether that's a right.
auto industry. Love between customers and the industry.
That's a good way of putting it.
Okay, now let's talk about passenger vehicles first. Maruti showed flat growth, but Tata, M&M, Hyundai, Toyota, Kia, all of them, minimum growth rate was 10%. What are your key inputs from the trends that have come up?
So, one thing very interesting is retail growth has been to the tune of 30%. If I compare February 26 versus February 25, the gain is 30%. But wholesale, which is dispatches from the company to dealers, is only 10 to 11%. Mm-hmm. That's a slightly misnomer. And the reason is, if you look at the numbers, Maruti, which contributes 40% of the market, their volumes is flat February versus last year versus this year.
Yeah.
So if you have 40% contributor having flat, then the balance 60%, even if they gain 18-20%, the average growth comes to 10 to 11%.
Yeah.
So, but I think the real indication is Vahan, and that is something very, very strong. 30% gain over last year February is something very, very good. And I think what is also very important is the cumulative Vahan figures also now are bringing or crawling up. Today, if you stand between April to February this year, the Vahan retails for the first 11 months is up by 11.5%.
Wow.
This was just 2 to 3% at the end of September. So you can say it's a rear guard action like cricket, where people start hitting 4s and 6s in the last few overs. So the growth has been something 18 to 20% in the last 5 months. So that's a very positive sign.
And what are the reasons? The GST regularization has put an impetus and that momentum is only increasing the speed?
Absolutely right. GST momentum, a lot of people thought that it might be a flash in the pan, it will gain help in 2 months, but really the momentum is self-sustaining, it is continuing. Second thing is, there will be no real price increases in the market. Companies have not increased their prices. What have increased have been hardly minimum.
But in January, we did see some price increase, which is every year's phenomena, but we have seen it.
But it's even lower than what it has to be done before. And third part is the consumer schemes. Generally, when prices went down, there was a fear that consumer schemes might also go down, but consumer schemes have remained same. So the actual value proposition for the customers is very good. And there is a self-sustaining positive momentum, unless this war in Iran makes a difference. So that is continuing. It started with October, after the GST cut, November, December, January, February. So it's like a bullet train which is just chugging along.
Okay. Now, before we look forward and see the impact of what's happening around the world, but let's just talk about what happened in February. It's surprising that Maruti had flat growth last month. What is it? Why? How do we understand it? Why is Maruti flat?
So, if you look at Maruti's production capacity, Maruti is doing somewhere in the region of, in the domestic market, about 1,65,000, 1,70,000. Then there are exports of about 40 to 45,000. And there are 10,000 vehicles which are branded as Toyota but produced by Maruti.
Yeah.
So Maruti at the moment is producing something like 2,25,000 vehicles a month, which is more than their installed capacity. And when you have export orders which are from a longer duration, you cannot cut them out. So it has to be minus exports, minus Toyota, that's available for the domestic market. So that's why surprisingly, when you look at market share in wholesale, it comes to around 38%. Maruti is slid down further.
Yeah.
But if you look at Vahan, which is the indication of retail, the market share is still showing 40.5 or 41. So in the last 2-3 months, Maruti's Vahan market share is more than its wholesale market share. And since it's not able to grow, the market is picking up. And the GST has been a very sweet point for the 4-meter vehicles, which
Sub
is
4
also
meter, yeah.
sub 4-meter vehicles, which is visible in the Tata's phenomenal growth. In this one, Tata has grown very well. So I think with Maruti's new plant coming up and capacity being added April, this will make a difference. But that is one reason which is holding Maruti slightly back. Their stocks are much lower.
But this sub 4 meter, in fact, for Maruti, their car segment shrunk. It was their utility vehicles which made up for the loss.
So, if you look at the Maruti's portfolio at sub 4-meter, the vehicles which probably the GST helped very marginally is the Alto and Espresso.
The small car segment.
But if you look at the other sub 4-meter vehicles,
Yeah.
whether it is the Baleno, whether it is the Wagonar, whether it's a Swift, whether it's a Swift Desire,
Fronx.
whether it is the Fronx, or whether it's the Brezza, all of them have gained because of that.
Yeah, they have.
So, and they contribute the major chunk of their 4-meter thing. The Alto and Brezza hardly contributes a small proportion. So that way, the benefit of the sub 4-meter, Maruti has got it. The entry level 1 or 2 models, some production constraints, some demand constraints are there.
But what's happening on the dealer level? I spoke to some dealers. They were very happy in February, where they said that the momentum is just very strong. We are very happy. Customers are making a beeline. But do you have a sense of the inventory?
So for dealers, as you rightly said, they can only sing a song, Happy Days Are Here Again. The inventory, because when I talked of the cumulative wholesale growth from April to February is 7.2 and the Vahan increase is 11.5, which basically means that the stock which was there is getting depleted with more retails. So clearly the stocks which were 6 to 7 weeks at one point of time, same period last year, have gone down around 3 to 4 weeks. And when we say 3-week stock, actually it also has stocks which are in transit, some billing. So effective stocks is very, very comfortable. So this debate which used to be there that, when companies used to say the stock is 4 weeks, dealers used to say 6 weeks, the debate is out. And we used to have this famous joke that it was stocks lapata. Now we are back to reality. So good days for dealers with inventory being lower. Clearly, it can vary between companies, but overall the network inventory is fairly low. And it's a very positive sign that in March, whatever companies produce, because March will have 31 days as against 20th February, full dispatch 100% will happen. So you'll probably see the all-time highest numbers wholesale for passenger vehicles in March.
So now let's move on to two-wheeler segment, where again growth has been phenomenal. Every company except for Royal Enfield, which showed 11% growth. Rest everything is about 20%. Hero is 45%, TVS is 31%, Bajaj is 27%, Suzuki is 37%. Amazing month for
Absolutely.
all two-wheelers.
So, this month the dispatches to dealers has been 18.5 lakhs. And last year was 14 lakhs. So that's a 35% growth. So whether it's a Hero Motor, whether it's HMSI, whether it is TVS, they all are 30% plus. Bajaj is in the 18 to 20%. Enfield, you rightly said, is lower because they have some production constraint. Their demand is also very strong. So clearly, this number is excellent. The only thing is that dispatches are 35%. The retail is growth by 26%.
Okay.
What we saw on passenger vehicles, the stocks have come down dramatically. It's not happened in two-wheelers. But in reality, two-wheeler stocks were never really very high. So that's been a good month for this thing. And I think there is a new record created. April to February, 20 million two-wheelers have been dispatched. I think that nearly 20 million. And next month, even if it is 1.8 million, we'll be going back a new record in two-wheelers being created. In 2019, we had the magic figure of 21 million, which nobody's been able to breach. In 2026, finally, after 7 years, that figure will get breached and we'll be somewhere closer to 22 million.
So FY26 is going to be a record year for two-wheeler manufacturers and two-wheeler sales.
But having looked at it, it's taken 7 years to beat that record. That's something.
That's true.
That's what
true.
you have.
But glad that it's back and it's back at that stage.
Because you look at passenger vehicles, that year was a record month. It was 34 lakhs, but we are planning to do 46, 47. So passenger vehicles have really grown over 7 years, whereas two-wheelers have just the caught-up game. But 21 million is being breached is a big number.
Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about EVs as well, because there was a concern that after GST regularization, because the difference between the taxation difference between EVs and passenger vehicles had shrunk. But what an amazing month for EVs in February. You saw two-wheelers grew by 45.6%, three-wheelers grew by 69%, three-wheelers, EV three-wheelers, and passenger vehicles 45%. So phenomenal growth.
So the numbers are very impressive by if you see standalone. But if you look at penetration numbers,
Yeah.
and two-wheelers has been a great month in this month. Previous months have not been all that great because the price gap, especially in two-wheelers, which was much wider, has shortened now. So clearly it is well, but the challenge still in two-wheelers remain. In spite of being a great month, as the penetration is still not going above 6 to 7% because two-wheelers, ICE engines have also gained. So that penetration of EV in two-wheelers is stuck in that 5 to 7% band.
Yeah, it's 6.55
So
this month.
it's a great, in isolation, it's great numbers. But if you look at the totality and what was the past and what was the potential, still a long way to go. As far as passenger vehicles is concerned, the numbers growth have been phenomenal. Last year, even if you look at the calendar year, the growth was 77%. Against 1 lakh, it was 1 lakh 77. And two, three reasons are for this. One is the number of players in the passenger vehicles who are seriously looking at EVs has gone up. Even with the existing players, the number of models which they have also gone up. So you have Tata Motors got 6, 7 models, MG's got 3, 4 models, Mahindra has got 4 models, and Kia is there, other companies are there, and now Maruti has come in, Vitara, come late, but there I Durusta, as they would say. And so clearly that is happening. The second part, which is surprising, is that there used to be a price gap, phenomenal price gap between EV and passenger vehicles of the ICE type. That gap is lower, and more than that, it gets further lowered. The schemes available in EVs, especially in passenger vehicles, have been very attractive. If you look at the ads in December, January, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. So effectively, price point is very, very attractive. And one we may say it's gone up. The numbers have gone up. Probably the retail is somewhere around 15,000. But if you look at the total retail of 4,25,000, again you're back to 4%.
Yeah.
So great in percentage terms, but in penetration terms, two-wheelers between 5 to 7%, and passenger vehicles between around 4%. But clearly, more action hotting up, more models, more variants, more companies making. So its market should grow. And the CAFE norms, long waited. If something happens strongly on that, that should give a further fillip to the
For
passenger
the
market.
EV vehicles. But now I want to talk a little bit about what can we expect from here on, because this Middle East crisis is going to have a wide-ranging impact. One is obviously the crude prices have gone up, and crude prices impact the entire supply chain. They impact cost in many ways. It is also a personal budgeting expense, but it is also an expense for companies where their raw material prices go up. Then raw material availability becomes difficult because Strait of Hormuz is a very important passage which impacts crude, but also impacts many other supply chain. The third aspect is that there are lots of people from India who are working in these regions, and the uncertainty brings a little bit of a down emotion the consumer emotions are not very comfortable. So do you think it will take time to show impact, or you see an immediate impact? I feel that March might be a little tough for people to be in that mood to go out and spend.
So, clearly, there's so many uncertain factors, so many unfavorable factors, it will have an impact. But I think the momentum which is in February probably would continue till March. The real impact will start showing after March end because the pipeline is low, demand is still there, bookings are there, it will probably see through. I think two factors have to be taken into account. How the raw material thing plays out. Because if there is a challenge in terms of supply chain of raw material, that makes a major impact in production, which has had impacted in the past. Although the supply doesn't come from those countries, but the world is interconnected.
Very connected.
Second, which you rightly said, there are a large diaspora of individuals, or you could say expats, are there in the Gulf countries. The uncertainty also makes a difference at that point of time. It's uncertain days, but the way we are still a very domestic market created market in India. And even our exports for two-wheelers or passenger vehicles are fairly minuscule in the Middle East area. They are more into South America, Africa, this thing. So probably it will not be to that extent it could be. But yes, if things go bad to worse on the global front as far as the war front goes, it will have an impact. But that nobody can predict at this point of time. It's too early days. But it's not a positive, it's a negative development.
Definitely. And what is, now that we are towards the end of financial year 26, you've already predicted that we are going to have a record year for two-wheelers. But overall, what is your view on FY26?
So one is the tractor industry. To my mind, that is the biggest indicator of our country's economy or rural economy. That's going actually at the best pace.
Yeah.
Last month, 35% growth, but cumulatively also till February, it has been 23%. So industry saying 25% growth on a mature industry, it is unbelievable. And last year also was a record. And this month, the figure of 10 lakhs or 1 million has been breached. We are on 10.3 or 4 lakhs as far as tractors concerned, and it'll easily go to 11.3, 11.4. So tractors, great thing.
Yeah.
Two-wheelers, we are really on 20 million, it will go to 21 million, which will also be the all-time highest. Passenger vehicles, we'll be touching somewhere around 46 lakhs, which will be again a gain of not more than 8% over last year. As I said, the gain in wholesale will be lesser, but in retail terms, the gain would be higher. Would be to the tune of 12%, wholesale will be 8%. So overall, a good set of numbers, and commercial vehicles should also follow the same trend. So overall, 25-26, I think the GST has been the catalyst or the driving force. Positive has been a great year. Let's hope it continues to the next financial year also.
Yeah, I think FY26 headline is GST regularization.
Absolutely,
and because
absolutely.
impact that it has had on every segment of auto segment sector is
Absolutely.
just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
All right, Arun sir, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. We will see you next month again, and we are shooting this one day before Holi. So a very happy Holi to all of you.